So I'm not going to do a big spiel into who I am because I think we've had an introduction now or who I've worked with in the past. What I do want to say is I feel that community engagement skills, like real community engagement skills, are grossly undervalued by most of the organizations out there. And very often I see situations where organizations will spend huge amounts of time and money and energy building this machine, this technology platform for a community to thrive. And then they'll put someone with very little training or experience actually drive the car. And so what I want to talk about today is what do good engagement skills look like? What do really advanced engagement skills look like? What should all of us be able to do that someone without our experience and expertise and knowledge of the space wouldn't be able to do? So, a quick question for you all today. When we think about engagement skills, and I talk about like the in the weeds of engagement, trying to stimulate activity, building connections, I think of it in a framework a little bit like this in terms of initiating discussions, replying to discussions, engaging top members, facilitating connections between members. So, my question for you today, and the first one to start with, is where would you rate yourself on this? Take maybe 30 seconds to a minute and just put the answer in chat. Where would you rate your engagement skills on this matrix today? Take maybe 30 seconds and put yourself out there. Erica says okay. And by the way, if you feel you are world class, and don't be humble about it, you can just say it. That's perfectly fine. Stacy says great, goodish. Okay, good. Okay. Anybody else? I think I'm pretty good. I mean, I don't want to be mean, but pretty good is not a category on here. So let's try and stick to the categories out there. Okay, world class. Thank you. Great. Yeah, okay. So a good mixture of good, great, a couple of world classes. Okay, great. So what I want to do today is, and by the way, your answers are very similar to most of the answers we've done in a lot of the training programs that we've run. So what I want to do today is how do we go from good to great and then maybe even world class? And part of that is personality. Like it takes personality and the temperament to do these things every single day. But another part of it is just knowledge. Like what does great look like? What does good look like, for example? So let's begin with some really basic things. And I think often we go so far into the strategy, we don't actually spend time thinking about the core level. What are the fundamental things that have to be in place? So when we talk about initiating a discussion, I've seen some people do this incredibly well in a community, and some people be abysmal at it. So here's an example I've been using for around 14 years now because I love this example so much. Sorry, it's a bit blurry because I've had to readapt the image a bunch of times, but this is a discussion that's posted in a community called Generation Benz. It's a community for, I think, Mercedes-Benz drivers in the future. It doesn't exist anymore. But you can see the discussion here. The title, Cadillac Product Discussion, hosted by MB Melissa. Cadillac had a strong February sales bump, up 60% due to the success of their CTS and DTS models. Each more than doubled their sales in February, as well as the SRX. Jim O'Donnell, president and CEO of BMW North America, was recently quoted in Businessweek saying that Cadillac's edgy styling and its popular SRX SUV has helped the brand emerge as a legitimate competitor to BMW. There's a new generation of people buying Cadillacs, O'Donnell said. They used to say that people wouldn't buy their father's Cadillac, but now it's their grandchildren that are buying them. What do you think of this statement and the Cadillac product line, particularly the CTS, CTS-V Coupe, and SRX? Do you think Cadillac is gaining an edge on BMW? I'm looking forward to hearing what you think. What do you think of this? What do you think of this discussion? It's a marketing post, right? By the way, someone's saying that they can't see the screen. Can everyone see the screen okay? Okay, cool. So what do you think of this discussion? Does this sound like a real, authentic conversation? It's text heavy, it's wordy. What else makes this really bad? Hard to understand. Let me ask a simpler question. Is this how human beings speak to each other? Like legitimately, if someone came up to an event and began a conversation like this, is this how you would respond to someone? Is this how what you'd expect to hear? And the thing is, we all know this. But very often, when we begin engaging with half our brand, we adopt this weird brand persona, and we have to be better than this. This is the worst example. Let's go to another example. Also, yeah, having a quote in there, as I think, I can't remember who said it, Ling said, yeah, it's not a normal thing to do. Okay, let's go for another example. I won't read it out, but maybe take 30 seconds just to read it here. What do you think of this discussion? Again, take about 30 seconds to put your answer in chat. Yeah, Martin, like the last one wasn't authentic. It looks like a copy and paste from another article. You're right. Alex says one font size, well structured, too dry and personal. Who cares? First, the key info is in the title. Yeah, research. But what do you actually think of the discussion? This is a community for HR professionals. Cassandra says something we're going to get into in a second. Not a fan of the what do you think call to actions. Yeah, I think some of you are landing on what I generally find. When I see a discussion like this, I can't see any reason why the person is posting this discussion in the community other than to generate activity. And so it's not a discussion that's genuinely trying to solicit like experience and expertise from people in that community, is it? And so it's not bad. I mean, it's okay. The language is kind of in there. There's no big major red flags like in the last one. But it doesn't seem like an authentic this 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 discussion. It's not a discussion that people want to be regularly engaging with. It's one of those, what do you think? This kind of clickbaity style of discussions that we really don't want in here. So when I think about how to start a discussion, a couple of things I think are really important. One, if you want an answer, ask a question. Yes, you can use a community as a notice board if you want, but then people would treat it as a notice board, and we tend to ignore notice boards. Two, be specific. Three, use different types of discussions. There's very there's some very interesting ways of asking a discussion in a different way to get different kind of responses. So asking for someone for their opinion is very different from asking them for their experience. And people are far more like to share their experience and their opinion on most topics. 4, keep the question short. 5, tag in people you want to answer. And 6, ask questions and start them at a cadence that's quite steady. One of the things we've been teaching a lot in the courses that we run is this idea of an emotional payoff. When we think of a discussion and the reason why anyone would want to answer a discussion, we think about what we call the emotional payoff, which is if I respond to that discussion, I'm volunteering my own time to do that. And why would I do it? Well, I'm doing it because I get that feeling that it's helping someone. No one comes back from a hard day of work and wants to do unpaid customer support. But yet, that's what a lot of us do. And we're not doing it for money. We're doing it because it gives us a sense of emotional payoff, an emotional payoff that we really want, that we can't easily get from many kinds of discussions that are out there. So it should be clear why you're asking the question, how it helps you. Fundamentally, when someone responds to a discussion, they want to feel like they've helped someone. And so let's go through an example what that looks like. Think about the discussion on the left here. And again, I'm making these ones up. My iPhone won't turn on. I've tried charging it, but it's not working. Any ideas? What do you think of this? Yeah, there is a lack of information. Honestly, I wasn't going to fill the whole post and content because it would take the entire slide, not specific enough. But if you were answering this, would you feel an emotional payoff? Yeah, makes the person feel sorry for him. I think, yeah, generally if I was answering this, I'd feel there would be an emotional payoff here. But let's compare it to discussion 2 here. Can someone help? I've spent the last few hours trying to charge my iPhone and it's driving me insane. I'm scared. I need to replace it. I don't have the money. Which of these two discussions would you feel better about responding to? For most people, it's discussion 2, right? And why is that the case? Yeah, the emotional payoff, the higher stakes. The more we feel we've helped someone, the better the sense of satisfaction and gratification that we get. And so, one way to have a higher quantity of responses is to think about how do we model the kind of discussions we want. Now, I don't think that you should have a huge amount of emotion every kind of discussion that goes out there. That obviously doesn't make sense. But you definitely should be having these what do you think style of discussions where people really don't get any sense of urgency or reason why you're asking that question. There should be a reason for it. Let's try another one. What's your favorite book about leadership? What do we think of this discussion? Blah bland, yeah, vague. Okay, so here's a question for all of you here today. How would you phrase this for a better response? Based on what we've been covering here today, how would you phrase it? And think of it as a sentence or two, like sentences, the same outcome, but how would you phrase it to get a better response? Laura says, we're having a book chat next month. What leadership book should we advance? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Chat's going so fast, it's hard for me to keep up with it. uh, Salma. Oh, it just went off the page. I've been struggling with the team I run, meant to be managing. I was saying, I've been struggling with the team I am meant to be managing. Any ideas on books that can help? Yeah, that's good. I'll do a couple more of these. Bob, add a personal reason, specific field. Yep. Karen, I'm a woman in tech. What's a good book that can help me get listened to by the exec team? Yep, that's good. You might want to add an extra sense of urgency of like, why are you asking that question now? But yeah, that's generally good. Anthony, I just finished reading X. I'm looking for another book on leadership. Any recommendations? Yeah, that's good. You might want to add a little bit more of an emotional twist, but that's pretty good. Uh, Andrea, is that yeah, Andrea, I'm being promoted to a leadership role and I feel totally underwater. What leadership book should I read? Yep, that's great. Adrian, explain why I need it. I need to step up as a leader and I don't know what skills. Yeah, these are all really good. I'm not going to read out every single one, so sorry for missing yours. But these are generally really, really good. I'll take one more. Amanda, I'm looking for my next career changing read. What's your number one recommendation for a great leadership book? Yeah, generally, I think everyone's kind of on the right page here, and some of you came very close to highlighting my example here, which is you want the sense of urgency or emotion, something that gives you a reason why you're asking the question and why you're asking the question now, and it gives people a greater sense of payoff. So hopefully this all makes sense. Like having the right emotional payoff and structuring a discussion with that in mind is going to drastically increase the number of responses that you get. And it doesn't mean you have to do this in every single discussion that you create. Sometimes it's not appropriate, but it's good to have this in the toolkit that you can use whenever you want to create the right kind of discussion. Let's try one about precision. We spoke before about when it's vague and it's not sure what people are supposed to do. We want to be more precise. So if we think about this, what are your thoughts on productivity tools? What do we think about this discussion? And what would be the better kind of discussion that you could ask? Yeah, yeah, vague, too general. In a sentence or two, what would be a better kind of discussion? What would be a more precise question that you could ask? Laura says, "Oh, I love this. I need to upgrade my CRM, but I have low budget. Do you have a favorite to recommend?" Yeah, I like that. That's more precise. There's a reason, there's an urgency to it. Yeah, I love that. Anybody else? Based on the principles we're covering here, what's another type of question that you could ask? Salma, has anyone used a life-changing productivity tool, something that has actually changed your life? Yeah, I like that. I do think maybe the second sentence is almost the same as the first, but I think that the concept is strong. Adrian, I feel behind in terms of productivity, and I know there are a bunch. Oh, it's just being off the page. and there are a bunch of tools out there. What are the top three you'd recommend? I like that. What are the top three that you'd recommend? Jodine, I'm overwhelmed by my meeting note takers. What's the one that's making your day work? Yeah, these are really, really good. These are really, really strong. Don't know how to pronounce all these names. Magdalena, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I struggle with X. Can you recommend something mind blowing for you on this topic? Yeah, yeah, I think we generally get the sense. What we do want to do, it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't always have to be like a negative emotion. Like, even though we're using that as it's a simple example in this situation, they don't always have to be a negative emotion. But yeah, we want to be something specific. We want to ask a simple tool that clarifies the question because getting a narrow question is easier for people to answer than a broad question like this. So we've taken an extreme example here, but I think we generally get the point, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's try another concept here, which is helpful versus clarity. There's a difference between the two. So discussion one here. Does anyone have any tips on improving teamwork in the office? What do we think about this? Very similar to the concepts we've covered so far already. By the way, if you're using chat, make sure you're selecting chat to everyone. Yeah, I mean, if you get a question like this, I think the thing that occurs to me, and maybe you're the same, I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with a question like that. It's so broad. It's like sometimes after I give a talk, someone will come up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, Rich, I have a question." I'll be like, "Great, what's your question?" And I say, "How do you build a community?" And I don't even know how to begin answering that question. It's such a broad thing to answer. Where if they ask me like, what do I think this platform is better than that platform, or for this use case, what should they be doing? Or there's, like these kind of things are like things that are easier to answer. And so this kind of question isn't really helpful at all. Uh, Bob, what do we have here? Any ideas on how to get all my team members to open up and participate? Yeah, I think that's specific. Maybe you want to be more narrow than that, actually, now that I think about it. What would be another kind of question that we could ask here? Again, the more narrow, the better. It's also better for search. It's better for AI as well now. Like broad, open questions we want to avoid. We want to solicit these narrow slices of expertise in specific areas, and that's how we tend to get the most expertise into a community. Anyone have any ideas? Okay, let's go with don't know if I'm saying that. Lyria? Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I'm looking to improve teamwork in the office. What measures have worked for you? So that's good. What measures have worked for you? Asking people for their experience and what's worked for them is a lot better than just asking for tips. Like people love talking about themselves and what they've done. So that's generally good. Anthony, we have a hybrid work culture and I'm struggling to get people to come into the office for teamwork events. Does anyone have any tips? Yep, that's really good. I might not use the term tips. I like asking people, has anyone solved this? Or what was worked for you to achieve this? Like what Livia says. Yeah. Adrian, my team is facing a few issues in X, communication, collaboration, you name it. What has worked for you? Yeah, these kind of things just work better. I'm not going to read out every answer just for the sake of time. So sorry if I skip yours. Don't take it personally at all. Uh, I Adongies. Sorry, I don't have to pronounce his name. Idongezit. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'm so used to working on my own as a freelancer and collaborating with others. This has been a struggle since I got a corporate job. Any freelancer 9 to 5 here? I'd like to read how you overcome this hurdle. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think that's like clear, specific. It's narrow. That's great. Um, yeah, yeah. Generally, we just want to be more precise, be more narrow the scope of the question when we can. The more we can narrow the scope of the question, the better the results are going to be. Even this, I think, my example here is probably too broad. Like, how can I fix this? Isn't as good as how did you solve this, or what did or didn't work for you? Just things like that, where you narrow the scope of the question, you get better res responses as a result. Uh, Erica says, would anyone recommend team building exercises? Um, I think that's okay, but I would actually upgrade it, be like, hey, this situation I'm in today, as in why I'm asking the question today. This is the objective that I want to achieve. What's worked for you? What have you seen work and not work? I think that's a good structure to think about this with. But generally, it's a good idea to understand the difference between okay, good, and great. When we think about initiating discussions, and we'll move on in a second, if we think about the first example here, where someone selects a topical news story and asks members what they think. They're just trying to stimulate any activity, right? And this is the first example that we saw. But how would you improve this? What does good look like here? If we use that example we had before, how would you improve it? You don't have to write out the entire note, but based upon the principles we've covered here, what are the things that you would add in to make this good? Take maybe 30 seconds and put your answer in chat. Emotional connection? Emotional connection is good, but what I would say is how are you going to get that? Like, what specifically has to be in there? Because I think that's an easy thing to say. I'm really curious, like, how do you make it actually happen? Ling, yes, tell a personal story connection to the topic. Yeah, be a real person. I would say you would be a real person. It's kind of like the one from that Laura was saying before. Like, yeah, that makes sense. I agree, but like, how? You know, like, how would you actually do that in the post itself? The more precise we can be here, the better the results. Why are you asking the question? Yeah, you have to answer that. Let's try and be precise. What would you add to this post or remove? Express your opinion, start with. Yeah, I like that. I like that. It's a specific piece of advice. Marcus, maybe describing one specific persona story and how people should evaluate the situation. Yeah, the way I think about this, if we're going from one level to the next, I think to go from okay to good. Oops, my screen's gone crazy. You want to personalize it to your situation and then solicit useful responses and expertise. So notice the change here. Like the first one is selecting a news story and asking for opinions. The second, what's different here? What you notice is that it begins with a question, asking people about their experience, not their opinions on some random news story, but their experience. Like the news story isn't actually mentioned until the bottom. It answers the question of why are they asking this now? There's a personal reason why they're asking this question now. So if this is good, what would great be? Take maybe 20 seconds and put, how do you make this great? So we have okay, we have good. What would a great discussion? What do you need to add to this? I'll give you maybe half a minute for this. Add a meme? No. um, I mean, there's a time and place for memes, but I wouldn't do it here. I generally think, oh, that was a joke. Well, I don't know what to say to that. Leave the jokes to me. Magda, too long. Express she's under pressure from her manager, personal experience. Yep. Anything else? What can we do to make this great? Laura says start with some urgency and ask for something specific, one phrase or guideline. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And there's many ways of doing this. I think, in my opinion, notice the difference here. Now, obviously, you can't do this in every kind of community that's out there. But do you notice a difference? What's changed here? What makes it more likely that this discussion is going to get a lot more responses? Yeah, tagging. We spoke about it. We didn't talk too much about it. Like, if you can seed your discussion with responses by tagging in the kinds of people you want to respond. Now, don't overdo it. If you tag in like 100 people, no one feels special. But you see the difference here. There's a way of going from okay, good to great. And great takes more effort, but you get more responses. And if you do this sustainably over a period of time, it works out a lot better. And obviously, if you're doing a community based around customer support, then this won't work for every situation, but it gives you a flavor of what to think about when we go through this kind of, of process. We're including others, we're identifying them, as Cassandra's saying here, we're giving them an opportunity to showcase their expertise, making them feel important. But let's wrap up this because I feel like discussions, I feel we've got an idea. There's a okay way of doing it, which a lot of brands honestly do today, which drives me absolutely nuts. There's a good way of doing it where I feel we should all be able to get to, but I feel great is always an opportunity. I feel there's always a way to really think about how do we push this? How do we create something that's being really, really useful? Part two, responding to a discussion. So I'll get through a couple of basic things. One, we've done studies on this before. What we've found is that members who don't receive a response are unlikely to ever participate again. Like if you ask a question and you don't get a response, you're very unlikely to participate again. Two, retention rate, if they don't get a quick response, the retention rate declines quite quickly as well. So we looked at the percentage of members make a second post versus time to first response, and there's a sharp decline after I think around, was it 30 minutes or so? So it's a big, big opportunity to just be responding a lot faster. But then we can think about the quality of response as well. Let's go with this. This was a response that someone posted in the Vimeo community a while ago. You don't really need to know what the question is, but what do you think of this response? Nicole, if you ask that question at the end, I will respond. Thanks. Yeah, most of you are right. It's kind of automated, it's dismissive, it's boilerplate, it's impersonal, like it's all these things, you know? But it's still like how a lot of people respond to a discussion. Like another one from the AMD community a while ago. What do you think of this? Is this an effective response? Lena says yes. Does everyone agree? I don't think it's an awful response. I mean, it's information. But it misses a bigger opportunity that this isn't customer support, it's community. And community means there's an opportunity to have an ongoing dialogue and conversation and build this bridge of understanding between us and our members to really change how they feel about us. This doesn't do that. And I think very often we do a very poor job of responding to this, to discussions. A while back, we worked with Facebook on a community that they had, which I'm not sure it still exists, but it used to. And I use this as an example a lot. You can take about a minute or so or 30 seconds just to read through this and think about this response. And tell me, what do you think about this response? What would you change about this response? I think there's so much opportunity in this space to really go deep into the weeds of how we engage with members at this one-to-one level. Because if we improve the standards there, the whole community improves in a drastic way. We're seeing better results doing this at times than changing the platform or anything else. There's such low-hanging fruit for most of us to just improve how we respond to a discussion. So how would we improve this response? Because when I look at this, I'm like, it's not bad. Like it's not a bad response. But as someone picked up here, was it? Who was it? Melissa, yeah. Acknowledge and play into the humor. Yeah. Empathize. Yes. Doesn't acknowledge the pain. Doesn't resolve the frustration. Don't like the response at all. It looks like the trouble was the asker doesn't know how to. Well, yeah, it's very common for people to respond to a discussion that makes a person feel like an idiot for even asking the discussion in the first place. So what would we improve? What would we improve about this? close by asking community if others have experiences. Yeah, that's not bad. I think obviously the type of response depends on the kind of community as well. But when I think about this, I'm like, okay, if I look at how this person phrased the question and the discussion, there's clearly a joke at the end. So let's play into that, as someone said. Let's like embrace that. So what can we do? There's empathy, but there's humor in the discussion as well. So if I'm responding to this, I want to be, hey, Philip, sorry to hear you're having trouble playing videos. I can imagine that's fiddly and frustrating. However, I wouldn't resort to the hammer just yet. We don't want things to get messy. If both GoPro and QuickUp, you get the idea. Like you can play into the humor. You can ask a follow-up question as well. You can validate the frustration, like Carl is saying here. Carl or Callie? Callie is saying here. Um, but like you can play into the humor and improve the response so people feel better about the brand. They don't just get a response to the problem. But community is an incredible opportunity to make people feel better about the brand by giving them better responses. You can look at the code words and the language that people use in that and then embrace that in your response as well. Let's try another example. I need to delete a duplicate account, someone made me, can someone help? Again, you get the same generic response. What can we improve here? Yeah, have a personality. To be fair, I would say like they outsourced a lot of this to a moderation team that didn't have a lot of subjectivity in how they a lot of subjectivity, a lot of scope to change how they change things without changing the standards themselves. But if we could improve anything we wanted, I do think we have to really think about how do we give a better response. So for me, I'd be like, hey, I'm sorry this has happened to you. We can try to remove the duplicate accounts on made of you ASAP. The first step is to report the account, give this link a read, and let me know here if you have any trouble. So asking for a follow-up response, then even better, because it helps people to know, okay, this person actually cares about resolving the issue. But again, you can see like there's ways of doing this at an okay level, and there's ways of doing this at a better level. One of the other things that really used to bug me a lot is when people would post a question that shared any personal information, they would get a response that was just like this. What do you think about this? And there's so many little things like this in so many communities that are out there today. Jodine, yes, it feels like someone's stolen my time by removing my post. Unacceptable, poor tone. Like, it makes a person feel bad, right? It doesn't make them feel good. Yeah, like getting yelled at. This happens a lot. And imagine beginning with the phrase, your post is being removed. So, how would we change this? I'm going to give you the answer just to be mindful of time. But when I think about this, I want to begin with a positive start at least. And be like, hey there, great question. But would you mind me posting about any of your private details, especially things like X, Y, and Z? In the wrong hands, people can do bad things with this, but don't worry, we've got your back. We've hidden the old post for you. Just publish the post again about any private details, and we'll do our best. What do we think about this response? Yeah, some of you are very close to the yeah, where I'm going with this. But we can see the difference now, right? We can see the difference between like okay and better. I don't even think this first one is okay. I just think it's just flat out bad. But we can see the difference. It's more encouraging, it's more supportive, it's being clear like, hey, we are protecting that person, but we still want you to post. We don't want to be shouting at you. It's a light-hearted tone without being like scary or patronizing. And then it's very clear what the next step is. And so there's clearly a difference here. And so when we're crafting a response, what we often want to be doing is make sure that A, we do get an acceptable response to the person asking the question. We don't want to be like, hey, how are you doing? Like we actually do want to provide the information where we can. Two, we want the person to feel better about asking the question. Like that's how we improve the relationship with the brand. Like when people feel they've got an amazing support experience from people in the community. 3, where possible, you want to solicit expertise from others in that community. And 4, when relevant, you want to expand the nature and scope of the discussion to make sure it's engaging for everyone that can participate in there. So let's go with an example here. So the question is, how do you prepare presentations for your company clients? I'm currently in the process of preparing for my presentation for my first potential client and I'm finding myself struggling to put something together. I'm hoping to learn from you guys on your workflow is when creating your presentation with clients and execs. How do you collect data? What do you use to slap them all together? So this is a question I actually picked up and slightly adjusted from somewhere else. And there's a typical response to this, but then there's like a much better way. But I think what's happened now is that there's a chat GPT response, which I think is the new flaw. Like you have to be at least be better than a GPT response. So this might be something just like this. Now, it's information, right? It's formatted, okay. So I think chat GPT is now the flaw. And if we can't respond better than this, then we shouldn't have a job. So what does good look like here? How do we make this a good response? So what I'd be thinking about here is, okay, good question. You're not alone, making that emotional connection, making them feel like they are part of a group. I know many of our members have found themselves in your situation when they were first starting out. That personal connection with congrats on getting your first client. You can find a basic workflow. So we're putting the information that they need. We're linking to it. I'd also suggest beginning with, some paid templates. When is your presentation due? Let me know how it goes. Again, it's very clear, it's very simple, it provides information, and this is a lot better than the answer that Chat GPT gave. So if you cannot respond better than Chat GPT, you don't deserve to work in this field. We can at least go to this level. And when we think about great, we think, okay, what's missing from this response? What would a great response look like instead of just a good response? Christy says, I would congratulate them on the presentation, provide the workflow, tag other people. Yeah, most of you have got like the tagging point here. Yeah, just to be clear, not memes, but tagging works really well. So again, we can just add more empathy, more personal connection. You can share more personal experience, and then you can tag people in that can give a right answer. And so you can see the difference. There's okay, or what Chat GPT can do. There's good, and then there's great. Does this make sense? Just give me a quick yes or no in chat. So there's levels and we can go up the levels, but we have to be committed to doing these things really well. And it takes more time, more effort. But there's such a difference between how a customer support person responds, which is very much like those on the left and some of those early examples we had, and then a community example. Now, this is the Okta community, I think. And you can see the question and you can see the response. And this is a response by the customer support folks. And it's pretty standard. It's what you get in a lot of the communities that are out there today. So yeah, it's not bad. But at the same organization, once a community person gets to it, and Phoebe is someone that used to work with me and for Opta as well, you can see the difference immediately in how a community person responds and how a support person. Same organization, but the difference is huge, right? We can really see a difference in how different people respond based upon their skills and expertise. And this is where I think we can all get to. Let me give you an example of someone that I really like. I actually got to meet in Toronto again a couple of weeks ago. So I think that Colleen Young is one of the best in the business at Mayo Clinic in responding and engaging members into her community. Notice this response. You don't really need to know what the question is, but what do you notice about this? What are the elements that are in place here? There's like six or seven things that she's done in this short paragraph or two. So see if you can name all six. Adrian, yep, she's connecting community members, yep. Tagging people, sharing an active discussion, tagging the customer, yep, this is all good. Yeah, let's go through it. So first, she's at mentioned the person for notification and personal response. The second thing that she's done is I think someone got, yeah, Erica said, she's welcoming them. How does she know it's their first contribution? Back-end info is possible, but it's more likely that she's seeing. If you look at the left-hand side where Colleen's made 7,000 posts, the new member would have made just one, and Colleen knows to look at that. Like, that's the level we want to be at. The next thing that she's done is given a specific reference to the question. So she's fed their information back to them. She's specifically referred to the question. The next thing, she's tagged in the other people to respond, as some of you have said. And then she's shared link to you a useful information. The only thing you might change is maybe actually bring the important information into that, but you get the idea. And then she's also asked for a second post, an update as well, so people feel there's a prompt to engage again and get into the habit of participating. But you can see everything here. And what makes Colleen amazing is that she hasn't just done this once. She's done it 7,000 times. And this is from a couple of years ago, so it's probably like 12,000 times now. But she's got into the habit of doing it. And Colleen is amazing because she has brought this entire community back to life, not by changing the technology or the platform, any big change, just by using core engagement skills incredibly well. And the fundamental takeaway from this is that every interaction is an opportunity. Every interaction is an opportunity. And so we can treat that as an opportunity to build a better bridge of understanding, to get members to know us better, but we have to treat that as an opportunity. Next thing is persuading members to make a contribution. I'll go through this quite quickly because I feel like most people do this quite badly. Let's say we want a community, we want consultants to share their resources for presentations. The common way of doing this that I see most organizations is some variation of this. Don't forget to share any useful resources, or we need more resources, or we're running out of time to gather resources for client presentations. What's the problem with these examples? And variations of this is what I see all the time. I guarantee that at least half of you on this talk here today are doing something just like this. There's no benefit for the person. Yeah, it's extractive. It's focused on the organization. Resources of a mining ore. It's begging. So when we think about a better response, we have to think, how do we make it more in their interest? So a couple of things we've done here is one, we've been clear about exactly what we want. We don't just want resources. We're focused, what is the one resource that has improved a client presentation? We're more specific in the type of response that we want. We've made it easier for people now to share something they can um, that they can share without having to think about all the resources and put something together. It's clearer and more specific. And then we can think about, what does great look like in this situation? What would be a great response here? Well, great, I think, looks more like this. Do you notice a difference here? We're inviting a small group of top experts to be included in our curated collection of top tier resources for creating standout client presentations. I'd love to invite you to join one of our experts. This might be overkill, to be honest, but you get the idea. Like, there's one way of just like begging people for the response. Tagging, yeah. Tagging's a solution to every issue, isn't it? But yeah, there's a okay way of doing it, which is like begging, pestering, don't forget, reminding people. There's a good way where you're more precise and specific. And then there's a great way where you're creating a reason as an incentive for people to do this thing now. And you're giving them the kind of information that you want. And if we want people to do things, want to motivate members to do something in our community, these are the kinds of techniques that we have to follow. Okay. I want to do one more thing on telling a persuasive story. I think we have time. Let me see what we're doing for time. Yeah, I think we have time. So I think very often when we think about motivating members to do things, we do a very bad job of telling the story. Like I was working with a client a while ago when the CEO was like, not CEO, the person running the program was talking to a bunch of potential super users we had lined up, and he actually uttered the phrase, "We can't afford to pay you anything, but we can give you badges to display on your profile, and you'll get a Christmas card from the CEO each year." And this absolutely killed the motivation for anyone to participate in it. Because first, you're comparing it to a financial reward, and that's what's in someone's head now. And second, they're thinking, okay, all I get is a badge and a Christmas card. I'm not going to do it for that. But it becomes a transactional mindset. Like it becomes this really deep transactional mindset, and we have to change that. So we have to tell stories that people can tell themselves about why they're doing the things that we want them to do. Like when we changed the script and we did this a couple of weeks later, I think 5 or 6 weeks later, we used something more like this. Every one of you here today is here because we've identified you as having unique skills, knowledge, or commitment to the community. All of our members have helped make the community, but you've risen even beyond that. In the coming weeks, we're opening up a small number of opportunities to contribute more to the community's mission. We don't have enough roles for everyone, so be quick for those. You get the general idea here. Like there's a sense of scarcity, there's a sense of importance, there's a sense of being special. Again, it might be overkill a little now that I've read it again, but you get the idea. There's a huge difference in the story that we tell to people, whether they're going to respond or not. And if you make that story about money or transaction, then you're robbing people of the chance to feel special and good about what you do. And part of what we do is crafting the right story that's going to resonate with the audience. I was seeing so many examples of this. We had a client a while ago who was sending out the message on the left a lot, and then we sent out the message on the right. Which message do you think had a bigger response? Our goal was to reactivate members that had gone missing. Which do you think had a bigger response and why? We actually argued with the client a lot on this one. Yeah, they didn't like our message at all. Erin says, one on the left, yeah, wee bit dangerous. I'm guessing Erin's from Scotland. What about the one on the right? Like, which do you think got a bigger response and why? Like, if you received this, which would you open and which would you respond to? The one on the right is warmer. Yeah, but the one on the right is doing something very specific and very important. With the one on the left, yes, we've missed you, but there's no reason why you've missed us. Like see what you've been missing. Doesn't you tell them what they're missing in that email at least. This is the event we've got coming up that you're going to miss out on. Like we've missed you, or reminding people of the community, assuming they're not participating because they've forgotten, is the wrong way to approach it. Our version was like, let's get an actual response to something that everyone can actually do. This is how we're going to get more people to engage. And when we looked at the results surprised even me, which is the open rates were completely different. And the reactivation rates, instead of in terms of that member making a contribution within, I think, 30 days of the post, was a lot higher. So we see these examples all around. And there's so many things that we can do where we just change the wording or the structure, and the results can be so much better. Like the last thing I'll cover is how do we communicate better? Because I feel the way we communicate to members is often really quite poor. And the key lesson here is simplify your messages. Like if there's one takeaway for this section, is to simplify your messages. We've only got like a couple of messages, a couple of minutes here, but I'll go through it quite quickly. Which is for your community and anything you're saying, people just aren't going to absorb that much. And we often have these long messages trying to tell members of several things at once, but we're not able to recall that. You only get to occupy one spot in someone's mind. And when they think about your community and the value proposition from that community, especially, they're going to think about which of these is it? Is it a place where I get proven information or cutting edge information? Is it quickest or most detailed? Is it exclusive? Is it diverse? Like you can't be all of these things. And it's always better to pick the things that matters most to you and then run with it. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I think maybe longer now, when SAP relaunched their their community, and their homepage looked like this. What do you notice about this? Or what do you think about it? No search? That's not the answer, but yeah, it's correct. There isn't search. I mean, I think search is actually in the top right. Think about the communication. Once you're saying, yep, the new community is live, you can log on, you can register, you can write a blog post, ask a question. Uh, everyone's white. I don't know if the guy there is. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. No diversity. I mean, it's a valid point, but it's not the point I was going for. It lacks the why. Yeah, it lacks the why. Um, it lacks the why you would do these particular things. It's telling people what they can do, but it's not giving them any pressing, urgent reason why they would engage in their community today. There's no memorable message there. There's nothing that's going to like really drive people. Okay, why should I do any of these things today? There's no memorable message. And so we have to focus on that single powerful persuasive message. And a key thing here is to avoid all the cliches that are out there. We had a client a while ago, I've used this example so many times now, where they were going to launch a community, and this is the language that they had to describe it. What do you notice about that? Yeah, like at what point in your day would you visit this community? What community is this really? Like all the exclusive group, dedicated, empowering leaders, world-class exchange. It's like if someone that had never really spoken to human beings before was trying to describe what a community could be, and no one's going to remember any of this. We simplified this as something what I think is a lot better, which is this: a private place to solve your toughest issues. Do you notice a difference? Like there's very clearly a difference between the two. And now someone knows, okay, this is what this community is for. It's easier to remember this. And very often we get so caught up in all the buzzwords and trying to explain everything that the community can be that we fall victim to what's called the argument dilution effect. And the argument dilution effect is that when you combine several benefits, you tend to weaken the overall argument. For example, which of these two do you think is most persuasive? The one on the left or the one on the right? Some people are saying left. What do you think is most persuasive left? So most people are saying left because I kind of gave away the answer in the question. But why? Because there's more benefits on the right. That's simply not how human beings think. When we begin thinking about swag boxes and gift cards, like, it doesn't seem to really make sense. These extra things, they diminish the benefits you're offering. Weak messages undermine the strong ones. And when we think about how we communicate the value of a community, there's a word on the left. Yeah, there could be some typos in this. Sorry about that. But when we think about like how we position a community, we want to be really clear and succinct. We want to be very clear about what this community is, and not try and tick every single box. Go with the most important thing and then run with that. Don't try and be like exclusive group, world-class insights, sharing ideas. Just go with the thing that people really want. Like really, this on the right is so much stronger than the left. And so really cutting a lot of our consultancy is about this actually, like finding the right value proposition and really, really stayed with it and making sure it works. We're just a little bit short on time, so I'm probably going to skip this section for now. But generally, yeah, if you want to forge connections, I'll share the slides after so you can go through it. But yeah, we're almost out of time. So I'm going to wrap things up and just say thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. If you want to contact me, you definitely can. If you want a free copy of my book or my second book, you can use the QR code here or use the link here. And just want to say thank you. Your contributions were amazing. Yeah, really, like the level of participation was fantastic. Ali seems like she wants to jump back on the session, so I'll hand things over to her. But thanks a lot, everyone.
No, no, I just wanted to echo the same thing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, for all of your questions. I think there were a few we didn't get to, so we will try to wrap them up and send them in our follow-up email. So you guys can expect an email in your inbox with the recording from today, and again, any kind of additional resources and answers to some of those questions we weren't able to get to. But Richard, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate sharing your valuable insights and expertise with our community, and we hope to see everybody again on our next upcoming webinar. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.